We're all ready to go. All we got to do now is get this car into the trailer. Hey guys, welcome back to Easy Street Garage. And as you can see on the lift, yep, the Shelby's still up there. I'm sitting here. The trailer's out in the lot. And no, we are not on our way down to Sevier County. We're here, and we're here for a very good reason. We're going to consider it prudent to listen to the federal government and our local governments, and we're going to stay put here. We're going to, and have, as you can see, nobody around me. I have created a social distance. With that said, that's the negative. That's it. All done. I'm not going to do anything else because we must all pull together and live our lives and move on. So what are we going to do today? Hey, we got the car, and I've had a lot of comments from my subscribers, you, the subscribers. What have you done to that thing over the last year? There are a lot of videos out there. If you don't want to pan through all those videos, which I encourage you to do, because I think they're pretty good, I'm going to take this time in the next 8 minutes, and I'm going to show you from the bottom to the side to the top to under the hood what we have done to this Shelby GT350, and I think you're going to enjoy it. We got some. Okay, starting up here at the front bumper, guys. What have we done? Of course, you can see we have added this ZL1 add-ons tow hook, and I got to tell you, the tow hook has come into use. It does work, and okay, I've got some ornaments on it, but only for my grandkitties. They love the bee. We did, if you just recently watched the video on the R splitter, we added an aftermarket R splitter to the front of this car. And I gotta say, the fitment was perfect, really. It was OE fitment. This slip low basically is a universal skid plate that you can add to, i.e., you know, the Shelby Mustang, or guys, you could even go with this on the new C8 Corvette. This would probably be a really perfect and smart add-on. Okay, guys, what we've done up front here on the K-member is we have added the Steeda G-Track brace. Why is the G-Track brace so important? Well, basically you get a lot of tire, or a lot of K-member flex up here when you're running a wider tire on the front of these Shelby GT350s. I'm going to tell you that you will have to do a little bit of grinding on those spacers. You will have to work on the inside of that K-member because there's a lot of slag. There's also a couple studs I want to show you, or at least they punch this this location out where this brace goes across. So I'm going to show you what you're going to have to do also on that brace. Okay, guys, I was telling you about the Steeda G-Track brace going on that K-member, that OE K-member. When you get up in there to put these little spacers that I showed you in the video of me really grinding those down so they fit, you're gonna find these little pieces up underneath there that were punched at the factory, right? And they're gonna be like bent, and they're up inside of that K-member. You're gonna have to get these things out of there if you want that thing to fit together. Okay, guys, going down on the left and the right side of the car, we have installed the Steeda jacking rail. I highly recommend this for the GT and the Shelby GT350. This gives you the ability to put your jack under this thing, your low profile jack, and it allows you to jack the entire side of the car up. You can get the front and the back wheel off at the same time. Just a word of caution. Please use jack stands, all right? But you can add this thing on, a couple bolts already pre-drilled from the factory, so this thing bolts up fairly easy. For you guys that trailer your cars, I really find these to be really handy, and that is the Ford Performance tie downs. Okay, guys, so I went to Scott Hogue and I explained to him what I was looking for. I really wanted something different, out of the unordinary from all of the other H and X pipes that were available for the Shelby GT350. And what Scott explained to me is that exhaust is like a musical instrument. It absolutely has to be tuned. So what he did for me was he took his existing helm hole design that really is a replacement, so to speak, for the H pipe, okay? Because what happens with an H and an X pipe is you create this tremendous amount of drone from the car. I did not want the drone. So what he did is he took his basic design of the helm hole, which is basically a chamber with cross sections through here, and the way it's basically configured is that it is tuned perfectly to eliminate the drone. So we went with the helm hole on this car. Now initially he put resonators on here back where the mufflers used to be, and so what we did in this scenario was I did not initially like the sound of the resonators. It brought it too much to a, I don't know, like a GT sound, and I wanted that signature sound of my flat plane crank. So Scott came up with a great idea. He said, great, we'll just eliminate them. And I said, that's it? We're going to go straight out the back? No mufflers? He said, absolutely, no mufflers. And so what Scott explained to me was, that, and you can catch this in the earlier video when we installed this exhaust system, Scott explained, he said, when you put your GT350 in sport mode, what happens is it basically sends all the exhaust straight out one pipe and eliminates the muffler. And that's all we're going to do. And so we set it up that way. And then Scott also designed a way that this car will stay in sport mode all the time and without throwing a code. And so he also designed that for me, and this has worked out perfectly. Out back here, the one thing I also added was the Ford Performance rear tow hook. I do think that when you buy this from Ford Performance, they tell you it's for off-road use only. And yes, absolutely, that's a ladybug on there for my little Macy. She wanted that on there. So I want to talk about the Watson roll cage real quick. They designed this roll cage to fit perfectly into this chassis. So what Ford does for Watson is on the B pillar of this car, they put rivet nuts in there, right? And those rivet nuts are there to accept this roll cage. It drops in that easily. Now on the C pillar in the back, you're going to have to do some drilling into the C pillar. It's not that difficult. The key factor is get this car up on jacks, get up under there and pull the brake lines away so you don't go and drill through your brake lines, because you can. I really basically copied Art Hyde's design on his Shelby GT350R. So what I've got is I've got the Weiland's shoulder harness. They are equipped to accept my Hans device, again, so safety being number one. If you go down here and you take a look, then you'll see that so you got your shoulder harnesses, you've got your lap harness right here, okay? And you'll notice that these are FIA compliant. So I wanted to be FIA compliant. There you go. 2022, I'll have to replace these belts probably. I don't know if you replace them or they inspect them and recertify them, but that's the case, all right? However, I did add the, if you would, the crotch belt. I don't know if that's the right word or not, kind of sounds crude, but anyway, this basically keeps you from submarining under and into the floor pan of the car and breaking your back, okay? This is absolutely prudent, it's critical, and I think if you haven't done this and you've just gone with a 4-point harness, you're fooling yourself. Now, one thing I did do, okay, and that is that these are not DOT certified. These are for only off-road. I do use them on the street, and you're gonna have one problem. If you don't connect your safety belt, right, then you're gonna have an issue with this thing binging as you drive down the road because it doesn't think you have a belt plugged in. So what I did was on eBay, I purchased this key. This key basically goes into the belt or into the latch over here for your lap belt and shoulder harness, and it tells the car, hey, something's plugged in there, we're good to go. These are very specific to the model of the car and how they work, so research that a bit. I want to give you a closer look of at this bracket, but man, this is so hard because it is really tight back here in the back. So here's what I did. I purchased this bracket from a fella out in New York who manufactured these to a specification that was created by Art. And here's the important piece of the puzzle here. If you look in here, you see all the angles here on this bracket. This is the lap belt here, one side of the lap belt. This here and this basically are the submarine belt, right? So that's the one that goes up in under your crotch there. And then this whole bracket is mounted up underneath the seat bracket, and then it's just duplicated on the other side right here. So you can see how that goes together. I did do the Watson rear seat delete as opposed to the Ford Performance rear seat delete, and for a couple reasons. The most important reason was cost. The cost of that rear seat delete is much less, but I like a flat deck back there. I could put it. In one of our recent episodes, we changed out the brake pads on these Brembo brakes to Hawk brake pads. And this is really kind of a test just to give you guys some feedback on what happens here as it relates to dust. I installed the caliper fixation studs on this caliper, and then we also went with the extensions. That way it gives you the ability in the future to slide the caliper up onto the extensions, change out pads on the track, slide it back down, remove the extensions, go to the other side. Really dynamite product. The quality of the caliper fixation was just beyond. I added the True Fiber wicker bill, and I really researched this. I looked at all of the suppliers out there, and I think True Fiber really makes absolutely the best looking wicker bill on the market. This thing is absolutely amazing. So let's take a look. What do we got here? Basically, on the True Fiber wicker bill, I put a video out, one of my very first videos of how this thing goes together. This carbon fiber piece right here is set up where you can go, it has a template, and you're gonna basically drill out your OE spoiler back here. The other thing then, once you do that, you've got to add these rivet nuts. Allen head screws, and they screw into that rivet nut, and that holds on this whole carbon fiber deck piece back here. And then we added the Scott Drake fuel cap. This fuel cap is very simple to do. It replaces the OE fuel cap. This is a Roush component, and basically it has 3M adhesive on it. I think it really kind of fills this gap in here where the window was. I like the look. By the way, my numbers on the side are magnetic, okay? So these are not directly on the car. Okay guys, I also added the fender vents from True Fiber. I think that these things, especially in the sunlight, I mean, it's really hard to capture this in this lighting in the shop here, but the side vents are really cool. They are True Fiber. And they are basically a raw or a bare carbon fiber with a clear coat over top to protect them from UV. The hood vent was unique in its install. I really dig the look of it. I did have to go through and do a little bit of redesign of this vent. I'll show you guys that I also added quick latches, and you can go back and look at my video where I talked about that. The key factor is that the placement of these are really in the same spot that the Cobra Jet puts the arrow. It is this location right here of the pin. So I'm gonna go across, I'm gonna shoot across here, and I'll show you the placement over here on the other side of the car. And you can see that those little bosses, or that little boss that's in the chassis with the hole in it is actually put there for Watson Racing so that they can install their pins there. Look at the GT500. The GT500 is out in this area. When you look up under the hood here, they're basically out in this area, and so the way this is all manufactured is this would just be almost a wreck to try to do a hole saw through all of this structure out here. Now, what I did was I basically installed the pin first, okay? So the pin was installed here. Once I installed the pin, I just put grease on both sides. I wasn't worried about the adjustment. I left it high. And then I closed the hood. Once I closed the hood, it left an exact point where that pin had touched the hood. Once I had the hole drilled, I came then from the top side, and from the top side, I took a hole saw. You can see all of that in my past video on installing these hood pins. So just go back and follow that. But the one thing I do want to tell you that once you install these, they do bulkhead, right, in between. Well, let me get the camera there. They do bulkhead into in between some of the hood structure. So what I did was, instead of this kind of being cocked in here and really not set up right, I created on the mill back here, I took a sheet of vinyl and I basically created two spacers. Over here on the other side, you could see really where you have this gap in between the panels. When you tighten this bulkhead up, it kind of crunches everything together and it distorts the metal on the top. Again, the spacer here worked very well on coming in between here and sliding the spacer down, and worked out pretty well. Okay, back to the heat extractor, guys. The way the heat extractor works from True Fiber is that it just basically has tabs that are fixed on the back side, and then on the front you just bend these tabs over. Now, one of the things that was important to me was to keep as close to OE as I could. And a lot of you guys know that Ford Motor attaches this tether to this piece, that if it were to come off, the tether would then keep it from flying up and hurting someone, right? So what I had to do is I basically had to create a stud with just basically a bolt, nut and bolt. As I JB welded that nut bolt onto the True Fiber piece, then I was able to keep the tether. I have added the chrome Ford Performance coil covers. I also installed, not only on the passenger side, but over here on the driver's side, the Ford Performance oil separators. I know you don't need the driver's side, don't need to comment, but I like the balance. The symmetry is important to me. I also added a couple little chrome features here, and I blacked out with the cover, and I think I got this from CJ Ponies. So I put the blacked out cover on the bean. I kept the bean for now. I did stick with my strut brace here. For now, I don't know if I'm gonna add the struts, the shocks to the hood. I probably won't. I just like... Okay guys, hey listen, thank you for tuning in to this edition of Easy Street Garage. It really is my intention during a very difficult time of uncertainty and time when, guys, most of our car stuff has either been canceled or postponed. Give me a thumbs up, please. And if you would, toggle the bell, because that's going to give you notification of these videos that are coming up. If you're not a subscriber to Easy Street Garage, please subscribe. I think we can get out and drive. That's social distance.